Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start putting our paper on our album. But before we do any cutting, if you're using this album here, this Heartfelt Creations 3D Flip and Fold album, you need to be aware that on the wrapping of the material on the spine, they're not exactly both the same size, which I found out after I cut my paper, because I cut one thinking the other side was going to be the same and it was too short. So you're going to want to take your ruler and you're going to want to measure from the edge of the material, the spine material, and then decide how big of a border you want and then cut it then, because this side is shorter than this side by almost like 1/4 of an inch, so it does make a big difference when you're cutting your paper. So measure out what size you're going to want, and then I just want you to be aware of that when we start cutting for the album, that you need to measure each side separately. Don't just measure the front and then do the same for the back, because it's probably going to be too short. So the first thing you need to do is decide what paper you're going to want to use, and this is the one that I'm going to be used for the front and covers of my album. It's the one with the little bird here, and it has Santa on the bottom. So I've already cut mine, so you can see the difference in the sizes of the paper. Yeah. So this one's going in the back, and this one's going in the front. And I did cut this one a 5.5 by 9. They're all going to be 9 inches long, because I just want a little teeny border. So decide what paper you want, measure your album, and then cut it to size. On the spine, the spine's going to be the same on all the albums, so it's just going to be 3 inches across and then 9 inches down. So cut your paper, and then after you do that, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to flip them over and get your score tape, and you're going to want to just tape around the edge of your paper. Put some down the middle, one on the side, and depending on your closure, what you're going to want to do as far as tape on the sides. Now for my closures, I use the little drits, and we'll go over that when we get to that part. So when I put my tape down on the back of my paper, I know that my little closure is going to go right here, so I always make sure I have a double line of score tape on this side of the paper on the front. Not necessarily on the back, because the back's not going to really, I do it for both, but the main one is going to be the front. So when you put your score tape around, put 2 strips on the edge of the paper where your closure is going to be. And do that, and do that on all. Say I did that on the back, for the back one too also. So do that, and then once you have all that down, what you're going to want to do, and what I have to do when I use score tape, I also use a liquid glue, because even if I take my page or my album and I do this and check it to see exactly where I want to be, I could do that 5 times, but once I pull my score tape off, I'll go back to put it on and I'll be off. That just happens to me. I don't know why. So I like to use a liquid glue for some wiggle room, because I definitely need wiggle room when I attach my papers on. And the liquid glue that I use, now this glue here that I also use is Art Glitter Glue, which is a really, really good glue, but this actually dries just a little bit too fast for me when I'm doing something that I need to have more time wiggling. But I do use this throughout the tutorial that you'll see, but for when I need a little bit more time, I'm going to be using the Fabri-Tac. This gives me a lot more wiggle room, and it also doesn't wrinkle your paper when it dries like some wet glues do. So I like to use this. And I also use this glue for quick tacking, because I don't use hot glue. So this is what I'm going to be doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel off all my score tape. I'm going to apply some wet glue. Then I'm going to take my album, and then I'm going to put it where I want, and I will have a little bit of a white border, and I just like a little bit, probably about 1/16 of a border of white. And I'm going to do that, and then I'll come back, and then I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, I have my papers on. Now you need to be careful not to put them on upside down, because that can be very easy. So if it's easier for you to lay it out and put your papers on, that would be good. And so I have my front page on, well, my front cover, my back cover, and the one down the spine. Now on this cloth, you don't have to cover this up if you don't want to. At first I wasn't going to. I was just going to leave it white since this is like a Christmas album. But then I changed my mind, and I'm going to go ahead and I'll be covering mine up with paper, and I'll also be covering up with lace. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be attaching my lace to the album. And what I have here is I have about a 4-inch wide piece of lace that I'm going to put here. And what I'm going to do is make sure I put it on the right side, is I'm going to be just putting it along, just covering up the cloth binding there like this, and then I'm going to wrap it around, and then I will glue it down on the back like that. So I'll have this, and I'm going to do it for the front and the back, so I'm going to be covering that up like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to measure, cut, and then I'm going to glue it down, and then I'll show you what I have. Okay, now this is what mine looks like so far. So this is what we're going to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip it over, and I'm just going to do the exact same thing for the back side. Okay, I have the lace on both sides, down the spine, the front and the back, and this is what it's going to look like. If you have any that are hanging off, you're going to want to trim those. So the next thing is I want to put something on the spine here. And what I'm going to use is this Tim Holtz, I think it's pronounced Baroque frame. And what I need to do is I just need to find some kind of image that I want to put in the center there. And what I've decided to use is on this piece of paper here that has this, I already cut this part off because that's what I'm going to be using, is, let me show you what I decided. I was debating whether I wanted to put Santa in there or the roses. But Santa's little hat was cut off, and that was just driving me nuts, so I couldn't do that. So I'm going to go ahead and use the rose one. So what I'm going to do is just, I'm going to put glue around the back of the frame. I'm going to attach it to the image that I want, and then I'm just going to let that set up a little bit, and then I'm going to trim off the excess paper, and then I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, I got my paper attached to the back, and this is what it looks like. I just kept trimming and trimming until I couldn't see it coming through the little sides here. Another way you can do that is place this on your paper, and then you can make little pencil marks right in those little open areas, and then just cut. That would have been a lot easier than just gluing it and then trying to get your scissors up under there and trim around. So you might want to do that. So before I attach this to the back of, the spine, I got these little jingle bells in my package, in my design package, and I wanted to hang down some little jingle bells off this and then put that on. So here's what I did. Is I took some real thin ribbon. I think this is like 1/8. Yeah, it's the real thin ribbon, and I threaded it through one of the little jingle bells. I ran I ran a beading of glue, and then I just put the two together, and I just let it set, so it'll look like this. Where am I? Right here. Yeah. And I did it for 3 because I wanted 3, so I did that. This is really long because I wasn't sure how long I wanted my bells to come off of the frame, and so I wanted 3 because I wanted a long one in the middle and 2 shorter ones on either side. Like this. So this is what I was going for, that look here. So what I'm going to do is figure out how long I want them, attach it to the back of the frame, and then attach it to the book, and then I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, this is how it came out, just like this. And it's got a little jingle. This is really, really cute. I like that. Okay, so let's just go over to the front. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the bling on a roll, and we are going to If you put lace on yours, you can do that. If you left just the cloth, you can do that also. Just run a strip between the cloth and your paper. That's all you need to do. And with this, I'm just going to run a little strip, just like that, on mine. And I'm going to do it to the front and the back. And I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, I've got the bling on the roll on, and this is what it looks like for the front. And this is what it looks like for the back. Now, if you're using this art glitter glue, it does take a few seconds for it to grab whatever you're putting on. So just be patient with it, because once it grabs, and it's on. But so it does take a few seconds for it to grab whatever you're putting on. But like I said, once it does, it's on good. Patience, and then you'll do fine. So now what we need to do is get into our flowers, and we'll start putting a nice little flower arrangement here. So let me go get all my flowers together, and we'll get started doing that. Okay, I've picked out the flowers that I want to use, because I'm going to put just a little flower arrangement just right here in the corner. And also I used the flowers from my design team package, and they weren't included in my design team package, but J&S Hobbies and Crafts does sell these, so I also used some of these. So so I've got everything how I want it. And what I do is as I was picking out which flowers I wanted to use, after I had it kind of like how I wanted it to be, I just took a picture with my phone so that I can go back and use that, so I make sure I put it back the way I wanted it to be. So I have my phone out, and I use that to show me where to put my flowers, because that helps me sometimes because after you get it all arranged how you like it and you take everything down, it's really easy to get things, It usually turns out okay, but you can get everything all mixed up. Well, anyway, I'm going to attach my flowers to the album, and I am going to be using, instead of hot glue, I'll be using the Fabri-Tac to put those down, because they grab really fast, and I also have time if I want to move them to so I'm going to start with this one here, and these flowers are so pretty. I was like, oh my gosh, they are the prettiest flowers. I had such a so I got this one here, and as I know and I just put a little dab. I don't put a lot. I just put them how I want them to be. Like that. Hope my head's not in the camera there. And it also gives me time to lift things up if I have to. I'm trying to see if my head's in the camera. Well, I can't tell by doing that. Hope it wasn't. I'll back up just in case it was, because I don't edit. I haven't learned that part of it yet. I mean, I can stop and go, and splice my tapes together, my videos together, but that's about as far as it goes. It's techie-wise with me, so. Let me, I know I'm looking to see which ones I got here. And you will notice with me, I have a very hard time covering up pretty paper, and a lot of times I just don't. I just leave it, because if I'm going to use pretty paper, I want you to see it. I'm not going to cover it up. If I need to cover up a page, then I just won't use pretty paper. But yeah. I like pretty paper. I do. Let me tuck that in here. And I got these real pretty leaves. I'm going to got a few places I want to put those. Right here. Turn my phone back on. Go back around this and here. that's what these, I'm going to put these little guys on. They're so cute. Just going to tuck it in, just like that. I'm going to just trim this one down a little bit. I don't think I need it quite that long. Okay, so that's what we have so far. Isn't that pretty? That's pretty. Okay, so I'm just going to, there's, in the wooden embellishments that were in my kit, I took out the one that said Merry Christmas. This little one right up here. It says Merry Christmas. And I embossed it with silver embossing powder. You know, embossing. I just embossed it silver. And I was thinking of putting it right like here. Like, so it looks like that. So that's what I'm going to do next. And I will put that on. I can put that on with the art glitter glue. So I'll just put that around. I don't have that many embossing powders. If I had that color there, I would have done it in that kind of like a pinkish color, but I don't have that. But silver is going to look good because I use a lot of silver. This is silver, my frame is silver, my bells are silver, so I used a lot of silver. So this will work. So I was going to put it just like that. Make sure. And then I have this little flower I was going to put like there. Just like that. So it looks like that. Because now I can bring it down a little bit so you can, there we go. Like that. Okay, I'm going to let everything just set up a little bit more and then we'll just continue on. Okay, now the next thing we need to do is we need to attach the hook and eye. And the only one we attach is this one here. This one goes on last because this is the one that we thread our, we loop our ribbon through and put it here. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the center of your album. You can make a little mark. You're going to take this, we're going to put some glue around it, we're going to put it down, and it's a good idea if you take the other end and slip it in so that you can make sure you give yourself enough room, make sure my hand's not in, to go in and out, because you don't want it too close into the book where you can't get the other end in. So just put that in, and then we're going to attach it like that. So let's do that. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just seeing if I'm in frame. So I'm going to put some glue. I got to bring it a little bit closer so I can see when. Just a little glue. Find the center. I already have mine marked, so I know where I'm going to be. And I'm going to put this in and make sure I'm not too close to the book, and I'm not. I'm just going to try and hold it. And I do have a little clamp to hold this while it sets that I can put on there, like this. And I'll just let that set. But I want to make sure I'm even, so I'm going to turn my book so I can see it from this angle because I'm in an odd angle here. There we go. I'm going to put that on there. And now I'm just going to set that aside and let it set. And while that's setting, we can start working on the pages. Okay, well, from your cutting guide for the cardstock for page 1, you should have cut out your pieces. and we'll go over what we're going to do with those. So on this one here, this is what you have. This is your 8 3/4 by 8 1/2, and you did your scoring, and you're going to have 2 score lines down here on the bottom of your page. What we're going to do is we're going to cut out these little areas here on the bottom. We're going to cut all the way to the first score line here, and then all the way up to the very top of that line here. And we're going to do that on both sides, so it will look like this. Now when you get to this stage, we're going to need to do an accordion fold here. Now these are only 1/8 of an inch increments, so they're very narrow. So if you have really heavy cardstock, it's going to be a little tricky. It can be done because I use 110 pound and I struggled with it, but I got it done. But 65 would probably be, fine to use that also to do this. So once you do your accordion folds, you should end up with the piece that looks like this. You need to make sure your flaps, when you finish, are inside your, in like this. And see, there's your fold. So that's what it should look like after you finish doing your accordion folds. And that's what it looks like here. And this is just to remind me not to tell you that we need to cut out an opening, because we're going to be putting something in here, and we need an opening to be able to reach and grab it. The way you do your opening, you can do it however you want. You can take some of your score tape and you can draw an edge around it. What I'm going to do is I have a 2-inch circle punch. I'm just going to set it in here and go down to however deep I want it, and then I'm just going to make a punch. And then I will just punch that piece out. And then what that is, that's going to look like this. And this is also to remind me that we need to put magnets, because some of this stuff I've done ahead of time, because like I said, I don't edit. Well, anyway, this is what it looks like on the inside. You're going to be putting these flaps up. You have your area punched out where you can reach in, and you don't have to worry about putting that on there, because you can't do that yet now anyway, because you need to go to your other piece that you cut out, which is this piece here, which is the, what was it, 5 3/8 by 10 1/4, and you had your 2 score lines, and this is going to be sitting like that. So what you need to decide is how you want to do here, what you want to do here. You can round out your corners, you can take a straight edge punch and punch here, or you can take a die and die out just to make it a little decorative, or you can just leave it square, straight across. That's fine too. And so what I did is I used this Spellbinder's die here, and I used this, the very top one right here. I used that one to cut out a little decorative edge here, and it came out like that. So that's what that looks like. So that's what we'll do for this. So then you have this piece here, and then the other piece that you should have cut out is for your little pocket. And we'll work on that later, because that was just a pocket with 2 score lines. So that's going to be our pocket, which is going to go on the outside of this when we get to it. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to just assemble these 2 pieces. And what you're going to want to do is when you slide this piece in, you're going to want to make sure that you're away from this edge here. You're going to want to make sure you're behind it, because that's part of your accordion, and you don't want to be, see how you got to be right in there. So if it's easier for you to lay it back like this to do it that way, but you want to make sure you also bring it all the way down, all the way in, because it's going to go like this when we're finished. And this should be flat across on the bottom where that score was. So it's going to look like this when we're finished. And then, of course, I do have the magnets on, but we'll do that later. So it goes all the way up to that very bottom score line is where the top of this should meet, but not go over, or else you won't be able to close it right. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and glue mine in, and then I'll show you what I have. Oh, okay, I've got mine all assembled. The reason I have to do that off camera is because I need to really bring this really close to my face to see what I'm doing, and it would be almost, I just couldn't do it this far away. So anyway, this is what it looks like. This just opens like that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to place our magnets. So depending on what you did here, what you're going to want to do is to make sure your magnet clears this right here. your little cutout, because you're also going to be putting decorative paper here, so you don't want your magnet so high up that your magnet's not going to be covered. So it's probably a good idea to go ahead and put your magnet on this side first. So go ahead and put a magnet here, so you have plenty of room to cover it up with pattern paper. Find them, and tape it down. It's a good idea. You can just tape it with a little piece of score tape just to hold it down. Find the mate, put it on here. As a matter of fact, I can probably show you how I did that. No, did I have this one glued down? Or not? No, this is done with, I already have that on my tape. I was going to show you how to do that. And, yeah, find the mate, put a little dot of glue on the mate. As a matter, I can show you, and I'll just take it off what I'm talking about. For those of you who haven't done that, so let me get a magnet and I'll show you what I mean. I got plenty of magnets here. So once you have this one down, just take another one and put it like that. Put a little dab of glue on it like this, and then just bring this down, and then when you lift it, see how it went up? It's going to leave a little, the magnet won't come off, but it will leave a little mark with the glue. So you'll take your magnet, let me grab that off, this is really, put some glue on the glue side, the glue has to go on the glue, and then just put it wherever it is attached at that place. And then you can cover it with score tape or just the glue. This art glitter glue will hold it just fine if you just use just plain glue. And then all we need to do now is to cut out our pattern paper. And I did have a pattern paper cutting guide also, and so you should have that. Well, anyway, this is the page that I used for this one. This is the one we're going to use to cover this big, I'll call it an envelope or a pocket, and it looks like this on the back. So this is the one, and so I've already cut out the measurements. So what we're going to do is we will remove this little piece of score tape, and we will place our pattern paper right over that magnet, how we want it to be, so it will look like this. And I cut a piece for the front, and since I did a decorative cut here, I also am going to put a piece, let me show you, over that magnet here, so I actually cut it out like that. But I think that one goes, no, that one, I know, this one's going to go on the inside like that. See how the hearts were, so I did it so the hearts would be like that. And then when you close it, this one's going to have the little, I guess it's hot cocoa with whipped cream and a cherry. That one's going to go here, like that. So I'm going to do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, let's do the pocket together. We can do the pocket together. So what we're going to do is we're going to put score tape on the flaps. So we can do that together. And hopefully my head will stay out of the camera when I do this. Or let me see if I'm even in shot there. Yeah, I am. Trying to stay. And then put one on the other side. Yeah, this is the first time I've ever done a tutorial this involved, so I tried to do a lot of steps ahead of time just to help me. If you have any overhang, even if it's a little bit, go ahead and just trim that off if you can. Anyway, so there's that. Just peel off your score tape. There you go. And I do add a little wet glue. I add a little wet glue all the time, just in case. Then we're just going to put it right. Now if you want to put a decorative border on your little pocket here, go ahead and do that. I was just going to leave mine straight across. And you know what I forgot to do? Let me bring that up. Yeah, you were saying that, weren't you? You need to put glue on the bottom. Yes, you do, or everything's going to fall right out. Here we go. Let me just add a little bit more. There we go. Now, attach. Perfect. There we go. Much better, huh? Yeah. Okay, and this is the one that's going to go right here. Just like that. I will use glue and put that on. And I have to bring it up because I can't see that far away. Even with glasses on, I can't see that far away. And let's see how we are as far as lining that up. Well, looks good from here. And I always push really hard with a paper towel. Okay, so now we have a little pocket. So we have a pocket, and then this opens like that. We're going to be working what's going on the inside later on towards the end of the tutorial, because it's actually going to be a little book, like a folio book that's going to actually go in there. We'll do that towards the end. Okay, so this part, so this is actually finished. So what we need to do is you need to go into your paper and decide, we need to cut for our base page. This is the base page. This is on this paper here. Let me see if I get the right one. I want to show you which one I used. It's this one here. This is the one I'm using. So what you're going to want to do, because it's going to be a 6 by 8, so you want to cut over 6 inches and then cut it, and then you're going to want to cut it into 8. So you're going to have two pieces, 6 by 8, because you're going to have page 1 and page 2 are going to have the same base pages. So put the one for base 2, just set it aside. When we get there, we'll use it then. But this is going to be the base page for page 1. So we just need to attach this to page 1. But before we do that, I'm going to flip it over, and I am going to put my score tape on now, because this is kind of like bulky, and I just don't want to be pushing too much on it. So I am going to put score tape around, one down the middle, and then I'll put it on either side, and then I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, now I have my score tape on the back of my base page for page 1, and I also put score tape on the back of my pocket. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove the score tape, add a little bit of glue, and then I'm going to attach it to the base page. And then I'm going to just set this aside, because I am not going to put this page into the album yet. I'm going to wait until I'm finished with page 2, because I need to align them up in the album before to do it that way. I do it the same way Shelley does, because the inside part of the album, this part of the album here, is much bigger than the pages. So I like to get the page in first here, so that I can line this page 1 up with page 2. So we'll just hold off on putting page 1 in until we're finished putting page 2 together. So let me attach this to the base page, and then we'll get started on page 2. Okay, we're on page 2. Now you did set this one aside that we cut when we did the base page for page 1, so you should already have that. So let's just set that off to the side. Okay, so you need to get your cardstock and your pattern papers that you cut from your cutting guide. So let's start with the cardstock. So you should have these 3 pieces. You should have a piece that measures, let me bring that up, so 8 by 6 3/4. And you should have a piece that measures 5 3/4 by 7. And then you should have this piece here, which is a 3 by 7. And you should already have them scored, because I had those written down on the cutting guide also. So this is going to, how this is going to work, or be, is it's going to go like this. It's going to be like this, it's going to be double flip. And then we're going to attach it to our base plate like this, our base page. And it's going to be like that. And then I'll just open. And then I have a little pocket that's going to be going on in the inside. So let's get our pattern paper. Because you can do this either way. You can attach these 2 together and then add your paper, or you can add your paper now. I think we'll go ahead and we can just go ahead and add our paper now. Okay. The piece for the pocket that I use, the little piece that I use, is actually a part of the cuttings that we did when we did our base page. So I just grabbed one of the little cuttings, and then this is what the one I used here. So that's the one that's going to go on the pocket. Now I'm going to attach this to my pocket after I put this on, so I'll set that aside. We'll do that later. Okay, so let's get our pages. We're going to start with this one, with the smaller one. And our flap is over to the right. So the paper that I used for page 2 is this one again. I used this and this, and let me see what other one I used. That might have been I just might have used that one again. No, and I used the one with the little, where is that little piece of candy there? And then I used this one too. I also use this one on page 2. So for the outside of the smaller flip, I want this to go down like that. Now when you put it down, just make sure you stay away from your hinge. So if you fold this all the way in like that, and then put your paper on, you don't have to worry about accidentally going over it, because it'll be out of the way. So that's what I'm going to do here. And I'm actually going to burnish this really good, make it nice and flat. So when I add my glue, make sure if you have a design, because I'm not, if you're not using my paper, make sure your design's going the right way and not, upside down. So be aware of that, because this is on the right side, your flap's on the right side, so your images have to be going this way. So we're going to be doing that. And I just glue these down, and I am going to use some more of this Fabri-Tac here. And I need to bring it just a little bit closer to me so I can see exactly what I'm doing here. And just center it as best you can. Just try to leave a little white border all the way around. So you should have a little white border all the way around. Like that. And then put that on real quick. Okay, so there's that one. And then I'm going to flip it over. Now the flips to the left, and this one I already have cut, and this one's going to go on the inside. So let's just put that on. I don't even mind, I might even be off screen for some of these. Okay, I have to come down so I can see where I'm at here. It's hard for me to see sometimes, so far away. Okay, that looks good. And if you're using score tape, make sure you burnish it really, really good. Okay, so we did this one. And now we're going to put the cover on this one. And this is what I've got for that one. That's what I'm going to do here. So again, I'm just going to fold that all the way out. And then I'm going to center it like that. Flip that over, open that up so I can see, and this one's going in the inside, like this. Center that as best you can. Stay away from your score lines, which I did. I'm good there. I'm good. Okay. So now we've got all that. And now we just need to attach these two together. So just center it how you want it to be. Get it how you want it to be. If you want it to be down, you can do that. You can have it up higher. You can, you can place this however you want it to be. But once you get it where you want it, you just need to hold it really tight in the back so it doesn't move. And then you just need to just tack it down. So just hold it. Bring it over. There you go. And that should be nice and straight. I need them even. I think I did that. I'm just double checking. I have to have it right up. There we go. Perfect. And that opens like that. Just making sure I'm where I'm supposed to be. Oop. Okay, I'm going to see if I can edit this because what I showed you was I missed a step. So what you need to do is you need to bring your hinge all the way out to the second one and then fold it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to apply that one to our base page first before we apply the other one. So what you need to do is this one actually gets right up on it, and you just need to hold it so it doesn't move because it's the exact same size as the page we're attaching it to. Tack it down. You can use hot glue or whatever you want to do, just so tack it down so it doesn't move. Like that. Yeah, this is where I messed up. Okay. Then what you want to do is you want to bring this out to the first score line, and it's going to make a little flat edge right here. That's what you want. You want that little flat edge. Now, for this piece, you want to bring that one all the way out, like you did. Find out where you want it on here, like this. Okay, I think I want it like that. Here, like that. And then I'm going to hold it so it doesn't move. And then I'm going to open this and then tack this down. And then when I do that, then when I bring it out, it's going to be right up against there like that. So that's how that is. That's how that should look. I'm just wondering if I put it, I don't know if I put enough glue. Let me get a little bit more glue back here. Because I can't see how much glue I have coming out. There we go. So that should look. So now that's what we want. So it's going to go like this. And it's going to open like that. And it's going to open like this. Now what we need to do is put our little pocket. And if I'm not mistaken, so this is what this looks like. So I'm just going to fold on the score lines. So I mean, not, yeah, I need to fold where I want these. So I didn't do that yet. And I do believe I wanted it in here. Or did I want it on that page? Did I forget? No, it couldn't have been there. Or was it a side pocket? Pocket and don't know where. Trying to see. Okay, hold on 1 second. Okay, for the inside pocket, we are going to attach this here, and then we're going to attach this on top. So it'll be like that. So let's do that, and I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, let's put our pages in the album. So let's get the album out over here. I think this is set. I am going to be putting something on the top of this. I just haven't decided yet, because I did set this aside to maybe put it as one of these little, really pretty things. I didn't know if I wanted to put this on here like that, or I also have some really pretty flat back pearls that were in my kit, and or I can put the little flat back pearls. Either one is going to look cute. I'm still thinking on that. I haven't just decided yet what I'm going to do, so I'm going to hold off until I know what I'm going to do. So we're going to start putting in page 2 first. So let's open our album all the way up. And because this is all white, I can't really see my border, so I have a little piece of black cardstock that I'm going to stick back there so I can see where I'm going with that. And if I was doing a black album, I would use white cardstock. So I would just do it reverse. Well, anyway, here's page 2. This is one we just did. The little flip out. And then a little pocket at the bottom. And I do have score tape all the way around, one down the middle, and 2 on either side. And excuse me, I'm going to remove the score tape, add some glue, and then I'm going to come over and I'm going to center it as best I can, right like this. Now I am going to have to lean over, so I might have to do this. I might have to pause. Let's see if we can do this together. Just so that I just didn't want my head to be in the way. So I'm off to the side here. What I'm doing is I'm just removing the score tape off the back. So that's what I'm doing over here. Off camera, real quick. There we go. So I got the score tape off. Let me get this open. So all the score tape backing's off. I'm going to add some wet glue. And I'm just going to take that up like this. Perfect. And that's all I need. And very carefully, I am going to try and center this as best I can, staying away from the score lines on the page over to the left over there. So I just want to make it center it as best I can. Yeah, see where I have to reach way over so I can see where I'm at. I think that's going to be good, like that. Okay, so I'm in there, so I'm just going to rub that really good. And then I'm also going to use my bone folder to burnish that really good and get up under there, under that pocket. And then I'm going to close that up, close that up. Now we'll put in page 1. Let me just bang that over a little bit. On my jingle bells. Okay. And I already have my score tape on here, so I'm going to remove my score tape, and then I'm going to come over, I'm going to place it in here, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to line it up with this page here so they're even straight across. So that's my objective, is to get that even. So let me remove all my score tape off the back of this. I'll add some wet glue, and then we'll do this together. So that's what I'm doing. Oops, that one didn't come off right. There we go. Okay, there we go. That's on. And some glue. Can you see what I'm not sure if you can see what I'm doing. I have to periodically look in my camera and make sure I'm still in the screen here. So now I need to flip that over. Now I need to bring this to me a little bit closer. And since this is way over here, that's probably where I'm going to go. I'm going to try not to get in your way, but I can't guarantee you I can do that from where I'm at and see exactly what I'm doing here. Was I in your way? I'm not sure. But once I know where I'm at, I can back up a little bit. But I just want to make sure that's straight. Even, straight. Oh, that looks good to me. Now with this, you're going to have to go in there with your hand or with your little bone folder and push down in there. Yeah, you have to push down with that. Or since it's an accordion, you can still do this too, because it can lay flat because it's an accordion fold. So you're just going to want to go around, make sure you got it real good. Right here. Okay, so we gotta get that out of there. Got our first 2 pages in, page 1, page 2. Now me, I do all my embellishments last. I know a lot of people like to embellish as they go. I save mine for last. I like to get all my pages in, and then I go back, and then I just do it that way. That's just the way I do it. So I won't be doing any embellishing now. So what we're going to be doing now is going on to page 3. Okay, page 3 and 4 are exactly the same. This is the paper I use for the base page, so you just need to trim off this part here, go over 6 inches, cut, then go over 8 inches and cut. So you need 2 6 by 8 pieces of this paper here. Okay. Okay, so here's what we need. So you go into your cutting guide and get out your cardstock cuttings and your pattern paper cuttings. So you should have, so this is our base page, and this is the cardstock cuttings that you should have, this one here. So what we're going to do is we're going to be making a little pocket at the bottom, and this pocket is actually going to fold around the edges, so that's why there were no score lines for that. So we're going to set that there. And what we need to do is I use this die here for this edge here. And what I did, see on the back how they have the solid piece right here? Well, I took from one of the cuttings that I used when I was cutting out for my frame, this paper here, this pink piece, I went ahead and cut out a solid piece like this in the pink. Because what I wanted to do is I wanted to take that solid pink piece and actually back it up against this. That way when you look at this, you don't get all that background images here. I thought it would look really cute if I did it in pink and then put it on, and then it would be like that. And then my piece that I had cut out for here would be like that. So that was my plan, okay? So let's go ahead, and I think the first thing we need to do is to attach this solid piece to the back of this one. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay. Okay, I've got my paper behind it. See what it looks like? It's just behind there like that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put some score tape on the bottom of the base page here, because that's going to hold the pocket in place. And make sure if there's any hanging off, I trim that off. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that, and then we're just going to center that and wrap it around. So let me remove that. Set a little blue. And let's put this on. Center it as best you can. I have to turn mine over and look underneath on the bottom. That's what I got to do. Make sure I'm far enough over, and then I just need to do that. Perfect. And then I'm just going to flip that over, bring that over, and bring that over, and then we'll just tack that down. I like to burnish this a little bit though, so it's not quite as so bulky. There we go. And then I'll just tack that down. Can't see if any glue's coming out. There we go. And it looks like that. So we've got so far. And this piece here, make sure the writing's going the right way, and we're going to attach that just like that. Bring that it over a little bit closer to me so I can see what I'm doing. Make sure I'm staying in the frame for you guys. Okay. Yeah, this is why I like wiggle room, because I'm going to bring that down. And I'm not really worried too much about this because I have plans for lace. When I do my embellishments, I already knew lace was going to be going up there. So that's why it's like that. Okay, so and we're going to do the exact same thing for page 4. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my score tape around, 1 down the middle and 2 on either side. And I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, 3 and 4 are finished. I have these both done, and I have the score tape on the back, so all I need to do is remove the score tape and put them in the album, and I'll be right back. Okay, pages 3 and 4 are in our book, so now we can get ready and we'll go on over to page 5. Okay, let's get started on page 5. Now for the base page for page 5 is this. This is the back. That's what it looks like on the back. So we just need a 6 by 8. So this is what I'm using for my page base. And on your cardstock, you should have that cut out. Now what you can do is you can use a punch to punch across, a decorative punch, or you can just leave it straight across. What we're going to be doing is making a double pocket. And I used a die for this, and the die that I used for this one is from this die set right here. I used this one right here, this middle one. So that's the one I used for this. And these are going to get wrapped around so there weren't any score lines in the cutting instructions. So what we need to do is place some score tape to the bottom of our base page, and we are going to attach the very first pocket, which would be the larger one, because we have a 5 by 7 1/4 and then a 4 by 7 1/4. So we'll attach the larger one first. Okay, let me do that and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is what you should have right now. This has been attached to the bottom of the page. So what we need to do is get our pattern paper, and this is the one I'm using. This was just a little leftover from this, and it's going to be a little short, but that's okay because we're doing a double pocket, so it's going to be covered up. So I'm just going to center it up, have a little white showing here, and I'm going to attach that down with some glue. Just glue this down and attach it, and then I'll be right back and we'll put on the next pocket on top of that. Okay, let's attach the next pocket. So I'm just going to add some score tape to the bottom of this. This because I need to try to line up my second pocket with my first pocket with the die cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this here, bring it down, and then line up my die so they line up. So I had them lined up. So that's what I'm going to do. Put it in. Turn it over. Finish that really good. The other side. Finish that really good. And then tack it down. And this is just a little tack because when I put my score tape on the back to the back of the book, that's what's going to hold everything down better. Okay, let's put that over. It looks like this. And then we take our next piece. This is the one I cut out from here. Here's a little extra piece too with the little Santa and the little map. So I believe he comes from, here's the Santa on the map, just to show you which one he comes from. I might have already used all those. It's on this page here. It has a little wreath. See, there's a little Santa and that one right here. And he's just going to go in just like that. A little border. So let's just glue that and put that down. Let me just go check it. Okay, let's work on the top flip here. What we want to do is we want to attach it to the top of our page like this. So I'm just going to line up that, hold it, turn it over, and then just tack it down. A little glue here. Let's see if that is good. Yeah, so I'm all even right here. So now I just need to take my pattern paper, and what I have, oh, I'm just going to back up a little bit. For this here, you're going to want to get that out of that pack, because as a matter of fact, the pack that I got it out of is actually from this one here, the Classics. Even though it's not one of these, but this part right here actually does fit on that one, so I use that to cut out my paper for that. So what we need to do is to get our papers that we cut out to go here, and then just glue those down. So I've got this one for the outside, and then I've got the striped one that I cut to go inside. So I'm just going to take my glue, I'm just going to glue them. I'm going to glue them in, and then I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, I've decided that I wanted to put a magnet behind here. So I just bent this back a little bit before it totally set up, and I'm going to place a magnet in there. This is called changing your mind midstream, so I just put a little bit of glue on my magnet, and I'm just going to set it right in there, and then just real quick glue this back closed. And just glue that closed. There we go. Yeah, because after I put this paper on, and I was doing this, this just didn't, I just didn't like the way that was not going flat all the way. So I have the magnet here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring this down, I'm going to flip this over, I'm going to put the magnet actually on the back here. So let me find the mate. There it is, goes right there. I'm going to add a little bit of glue, glue that down, and that's where that's going to go. So now all I have to do is put my score tape around, one down the middle, and I'll put one on either side, and we'll mount that in our book. Okay, I have my page in my book, and this is what it looks like. As you can see, I'm a little off a little here when I did my cutting for this page, but I'm going to be putting lace, which is going to cover that up, so that's not going to be a problem there. But this is what it looks like, and it has, and then it's magnet closed here, which is, I like that better. Okay, so let's go to the next page. Okay, now we're on page 6. So get out your cutouts for your cardstock and your pattern paper, and we'll get this together. This is going to be our base page. It's this one right here, and it looks like this on the back. That's our base. This is the 6x8. Okay, now on our cardstock we're going to have a 5 1/8 by 7 and a 5 by 7, and they're actually going to be going together like this. So that's how they will fit. And to know which one goes inside, the one with the smaller score line, this is like 1/8 of an inch, that's going to be the inside page. And the one with the outer, this is like 3/8, this is going to go on the outside like that. So that you will know, because it needs to wrap around all those pages. So that's how that's going to go. So we can attach our pattern paper. We already have that cut out for the pages that we're going to be using. But what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we fold these all the way to one side before we apply our pattern paper, because it'll just make it easier that way. And let me decide which pieces I want to put on these, and then I'll be right back and we'll do that. Okay, I picked which ones I want. Well, I already had them picked. I just needed to make sure I had them in the right order instead of grabbing the wrong ones. These are the ones that I'm going to be using for the is this the inside? The outside of the little flip. And it's this one. It looks like that on the back. And it's actually the same piece. I'm just using one side on one side of the page and one on the other side. So that's what I'm going to be doing for this page. And then for the one for the inside page I'm going to use this paper. The one with the little hearts and the one with the little cocoa cups on the inside. So those are going to go on the front and back of this page here. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll be right back and I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, I have my papers on, my pages here, this one and this one. So what I'm going to do is going to go like this. So what I'm going to do now is work on the pockets, and I'm going to attach the pockets. I'm going to attach one on the outside, like this, and then when you flip it open on this page here, I'm going to attach one on the inside of that page here, like that. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, I got this pocket on this page, so let's go ahead and we'll put this pocket on this page together here. So all I do is run some score tape down the sides here.
Oh, what are you looking at, little girl?
And then I'm going to run score tape down here on the bottom. And then over on this side. Okay, I'm going to add a little glue. Okay, let's attach it to the bottom right here. So just line it up to my paper and the bottom, and then just set it down. Okay, so now we have it like that. And this one's going to go inside here. And that's how that's going to go. And it'll open like this. Okay, so what we need to do first is we need to pull out our hinges all the way out. And then we're going to attach them to our base page like that. So we're going to put this one in first. So get it where you want it to be. It's nice when you have stripes because you can line it up with that. So those actually do help. So you just need to bring it over and then tack this in place. Then just push that out so it's flat. Oh, I need more glue here. Sometimes I can't see how my glue's coming out. Oh, it's coming out now. Now it's on good. And now that's good. Now I'm going to slide this out so it's nice and flat. Like here, see how flat it is? And then we're going to attach this one. So I'm going to bring this one all the way out. Slide that over here, right on top of that one, where I want it to be. And then flip this over, holding everything still and making sure I have enough glue. Bring that down. Yeah, and it's awkward for you to see what I'm doing. And I'm just pushing it. Now I'm going to pull that all the way out. So it should be. So now this page is just like that. And this page is actually complete. This is all we're going to be doing on this page right now. So we just need to flip it over, add our scored tape all the way around, one down the middle and one on either side, and then we'll mount that in our book. And I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, page 6 is in our book. Now we can go on over to page 7. Okay, let's get started on page 7. The first thing you want to do is find this piece in your paper pad, and it's got those little very faint Christmas trees on the back, and we're going to want 2 of those cut at 6 by 8. Those are going to be our base pages. So here's my base page here for number 7. So you should need to get out your cuttings from the cutting guides for this is going to be a waterfall. So let's get that situated here. And waterfalls are basically, they're not that complicated waterfalls. We're just going to need 12. Let me see. I got the cardstock for the waterfall. I want to make sure I give you the right amount for the waterfall here. Okay, for the waterfall, we are going to need 6 of these, and they are 4 by 4.5 scored it, scoring on a half on the 4.5 inch side. Yeah, that should all be in your cutting guide. So grab all your stuff in the cutting guide for your cardstock, and if you cut the pattern paper, get all that out too, so we can assemble all this together. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to apply score tape on the little flap that we have on all our waterfall pieces. So let's go ahead and get our score tape on. Okay, I have score tape on all my waterfall pieces, so I'm just going to fold them over and burnish them real good. Okay, so now we have all our pieces. Now the first piece that you lay down is very critical that you get that one straight. because all your other pieces line up with that. So if that's off, chances are your waterfall will be off unless there's a way you can figure out how to straighten it out. But usually not. So anyway, what I did is very faintly, I made little marks with my pencil. I went in as far as I wanted to go and made a little mark. And then I came down as far as I wanted to go, made a little mark here and here. And then I did the same on this side, so that when I pull my score tape off, I can line it up, and I should be straight across and even on both sides. And then if I see any pencil, I'll just erase that when I'm finished. So let's go ahead and we'll do the first couple together. So let me go ahead and remove the score tape backing, add a little glue. I am going to use this one, just make sure I have enough time to move that if I have to. Okay, so I'm going to need to bring this over to me a little bit so I can see. And hopefully you can see too, and I don't get in your way. So I'm going to line that up and line that up. And they should be pretty even. They should be pretty even. And then all my little pencil marks, I'll just go in there and take those off. Okay, so that's the first one. Then you flip that up, and for the second one, all you do is remove the score tape, and then you take this and you butt this right up to the bottom of the other one. And you just continue doing it that way until you have all your little waterfall pieces in. So let me do that. Now I know not everybody needs to, some people can just go straight with the score tape, but I just, for some reason, I can't do that. Okay, and just line it up, push down, and that's how that looks. And then it should be even, which it is, yay! Okay. Okay, now I'm going to continue doing this, and then I'll come back and I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, and this is what it should look like when you have all your pieces attached. So it's going to look like that. So what we need to do now is put our pattern paper on. So you should have 12 sheets cut to fit, depending on what die or punch that you used for your waterfall is going to depend on what size that you cut your little pieces to go on top. So that's all going to depend on that, but you will need 12 of them. And so we're just going to start putting those front and back through the whole waterfall, and then I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, you should have cut from your pattern paper 6 little strips that are 4 by 3/8, and what they're going to do is they're going to go right in the middle of the waterfall. So we'll put one, if you want to do that, so if you want to put one in between each page, so you should have already cut out 6, if that's what you want to do, or you can just leave it. It can go either way. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just glue my little strips in there, and then I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, I've got all my little strips in. So I just put a little strip of paper between each page. Now you could put a nice narrow piece of lace through there too, and I might later on go back there and put some lace over this, because then this colored paper will just show through the lace. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that yet, but I was thinking about maybe doing that. So that's what I've done here. So now we need to think of how we're going to keep this waterfall down, like a closure on this waterfall. And there's different ways to do it. you can take ribbon and attach a piece in the back and bring it over from the top, and then attach a piece on the bottom, bring it over, and then just tie it. You know, just tie it and make a little bow and hold it like that. But I have this little Martha Stewart punch that I bought a while back on sale, so I'm going to go ahead and use that because I don't get to use it that often. But this is what I like to do anyway with my waterfalls. If you've seen some of my tutorials, I mean my albums, you see that I use this to hold my waterfalls down. And in my cutting guide, I did ask you if you're going to do this to cut two. That's because you can glue them together for stability. Instead of one piece of cardstock, it just makes it a little bit more firm with two glued together. And I wasn't sure how much I was going to overlap it, so you'll see where I asked you to do 1 inch by 11. There's no way it's going to be 11 inches. We'll be cutting off a bunch, but I just wasn't sure how I was going to do mine yet. Well, anyway, here it is here, all down, and I'm going to be taking my waterfall all the way down to the bottom of my page. Am I in shot? Yeah, yeah. And bringing it up, and then I will fold it over probably right here. But I need to make sure that I'm in the center of my page because I want to put that in the center. And I have this ruler here that I'm just going to put down here and find my center. So I'll find the center, so it should be 3 and 3 on each side. And now I know where my center is with that. And then that's going to go right here. So I know it's going to go there. So that's how I'm going to find my center. So then I'll bring it over, find my center, got it, bring this up, and then I can fold it because I know it's going to fold right here. So I'm going to go ahead and fold that up next to me so I can make sure my fold is straight across, not crooked. Now let me put that on, see how that looks, and then I'll make sure it's centered here too. And then I have I am going to be closing it with a magnet. I do have a magnet on the back of the bottom of this. If you're going to want to use paper, you know, you're going to do the same thing. And this is like 1 inch, like I said, 1 inch by 11. I put a little magnet here and I just covered it with white cardstock. I just made a little punch. It's because when you flip it up, when you go to look at the waterfall, it just looks white here instead of seeing a magnet. Because it can't really hide a magnet behind this type of a punch because you can see through all those little holes. So I just covered it up with white paper. So let's get this on. Let me get this here. My 3 and 3, so I know I'm here and here. So I'm going to get this here, here. And find my center, slide this over. Okay, so this is where my center is here. So I'm going to hold this in my hand, put this over. Now I do have a lot extra here. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it. You can cut it, all that extra, but it's not going to really do anything. Well, maybe I'll cut a little bit off. And then I'm just going to glue it down. Glue it down real good. Take the glue down here. And we have all these openings. Trying to see what I'm doing. Make sure that's even Steven. Okay. Now I'm going to hold that down, bring this down, and I think that's even. I think that's the center right there. Sorry if my hand's in the way. You can't see what I'm doing, but all I'm doing is just finding the center. There we go. So I can just put the center here because I want to hold it like that so I can flip it over like that and put my magnet like that. I just wanted to make sure I could find the center with my magnet. Okay, so I'm going to glue that. Here we go. So that's that. So let that glue set up. And this is going to, I know you're going to see it saying, well, it's bowing. Yeah, it's because there's nothing, this is just a real thin piece of pattern paper, so it doesn't have any strength to it. So what I'm going to do is when I put my score tape all the way around, and I'll put, you know, one down the middle, I'll probably put a little bit more on either side of here. When I adhere this to my book, it's going to make this paper go flat. So it'll be flat then. Because right now, this is what it's going to look like in the book, flat. So let me put score tape all the way around. And yeah, and then we'll just get it in our book. So let me get my score tape all the way around and get it in the book, and I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, we've got the waterfall in the book, and this is what it looks like. And it will just open like that, and then you can just flip through it like this. So that's how that goes. Okay, let's go to page 8. Okay, let's assemble page 8. So this is the other half of the paper that we used on page 7. That's cut at 6 by 8 for our base. So we're going to do that. And what we're going to be doing on this page is we're going to be making like a little flip out. It's going to go in like this. And it's going to open with magnets like this. And then it's going to flip out again over like that. So it's going to be like a double flip. But before we do that, I'm going to be attaching a side pocket on the right side. So the first thing we need to do is add some score tape along this side right here and attach our little pocket there. I hope you can see what I'm doing. Yeah, so I'm just going to have a piece of tape, and then I'm going to just attach that. It's just going to have a little overhang. I don't know why. I must have just had this piece of extra cardstock and just used my scraps because it just has a little. That's all you need anyways, just a little, just enough to wrap around. And but you can, if you have another piece, if you want to make it a little bit larger, you can. And I also use that little Martha Stewart punch here to punch out my edge. You can use any kind of a punch that you want. A 1/2-inch punch is what you should use. Or you can just leave it straight. You can do either way. And so let's go ahead and do that. So I'll get that on. Let me just add a little bit of bring that in. So line that up there. And let's go with this. Okay, there we go. I just have to turn it over and make sure I'm even. Gotta make sure I'm even. And then I'll just do that. I'm checking to see if I'm screen. Yes, I am. Okay. Then just bring that little teeny flap over, which is going to be okay. It'll be fine. And let me glue that down. As a matter of fact, I need something. This would be good for that. Just because it's such a little overhang. And then we're going to do the same on the other side. Just bring that down. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so now we have that. And I'm going to take my little strip of pattern paper that I already have measured, cut to fit, and it's just going to go right in there like that. So I just need to just glue that on. Okay, so that's that. Our little side pocket. Very good. Now we can attach this piece right here. Now the flaps are going off onto the left side, and you're going to want to bring this all the way down. Just because you have your two little score marks, you're going to do all the way in. That's what you want to do from your little score marks that you made. They're only about 1/8 of an inch wide, those. So bring that in. Now you're going to slip this in. Put this where you want it to be. Line it up where you want it to be on your page. Yeah, I want it kind of like just like that. So that looks good to me. And then I flip it over, and then I'm just going to tack it down. Did I move? Just didn't look right when I was looking at it, so I'm going to try that again. Yeah, because if you think you moved, you need to definitely stop and start again. I think what I did is no, don't do what I did. It's the outer edge you need to bring it to, not the inner. I knew it wasn't looking right. I knew it wasn't looking right. It's the very outer edge you need to bring all the way in. Let's try that again. There we go. I was looking at it and I knew something wasn't right. There we go, that's better. Because we need to be able to slide this over to make that hinge. But it's just a little... Well, I did that hinge first. Was I? Yeah, okay. Do that again. There we go. Much better, because now we'll just push that out, and then it's flat. Right here is what we want. Yep, we want that right in our page. See, all the way. Perfect. Very good. Okay, now we just need to decorate. And as you can see, I do have magnets on here. So you're just going to want to place some magnets and just line them up. You can put them really anywhere on the page because we just need it to hold it closed. So they can go anywhere. You just need to put one down, find its mate, put it on the other. That's basically kind of the way that goes. Alright, so let's get the paper that we're going to use for here. Now on the outside here, we're also going to be having a little pocket, but I'm going to put that on after I have my pattern paper here. And this was going to go on the outside here, is this one, just like that. So we're going to put that down. If you have trouble seeing, like I do, you might want to get a piece of paper. So that helps. You know where to line this up. Line that up. Want it to be. There it is. Maybe a little wonky here. I'm going to see if I can move it over just a little bit. Somehow I got a little wonky. Let's try that again. There we go. I just was a little off. Now this is where I use glue. If I would have had score tape on here, I don't know what I would have done. Yeah. There we go. Okay, now we need to put a magnet on this page. Mine, which we're going to put on the back. I have this one cut out, so this must look like what I was going to put here. It was on this side. I think I'm going to put this one here. I have this little piece I have cut out. A piece of score tape off of that. And I will put this one here. And I'll try to get it centered and even this time. Okay. Just make sure you don't go over your score lines. That's the main thing. Because then things just don't close correctly. Perfect. Very good. All right, now our inside page. I have this little one right here. That back of it looks like that. I'm just going to stick that like that. Set that down. You do have to remove, if you put magnets on and you have score tape on top of them, you do need to remove that before you attach your paper. But if you just glued them on, you're fine. So when I attach my paper, I'm trying to line it up to the other page so they're straight across. Okay, so now we got it like this. And now we need to open it. And I got a page right here. What did I have for that? And this was going to put this here. Like that. So that's what's going in this page right here, this little guy right here. With the little reindeers. And they're so cute. Cutie, cutie. Cutie, cutie. Okay, so let's put this here. Line it up as best I can, get it centered, keep it away from the score lines. Right. Okay. This goes here. And that's what we have so far. Now we need to attach our little pocket. Now the pocket, I'm leaving straight. I haven't made a decorative edge on there. You can certainly do that. You can punch a nice little edge if you want to, but I was going to leave mine straight. And that's just going to go, so I'm going to put it here. Because that looks like I wanted it in here, I think. Yeah. It's going to go on the inside. I do believe, because it's too short for right here. Yeah. I must have decided, I must have wanted it to go on the inside. Or do I want to put it in here? I have a pocket here and here. Yeah, let's go ahead and put it here. Is that going to be... Nope, I'm going to put it on the back page. Decisions, decisions, I know. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put it here. Like that. And then this is the cover that I'm going to put on it. Like that. Okay, so I'm going to attach this to the page, and then I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, I have a little pocket attached. Now what I've decided I wanted to do is I'm going to close this with a magnet also. So what I'm going to do is just flip this over and find where I need to place another magnet. That way it's totally closed. When it's in the book, it'll be totally closed like that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put score tape around, you know, all the way around, one down the middle and one on either side, and then I'll put this in the book. And that will be it for page 8. And then we'll get on to page 9. Okay, we have number 8. 8's in. Goes like this. And then it goes like that. Okay, so let's go on to page 9. Okay, page 9 and 10 are done exactly the same. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick out your base page paper. This is the one I'm using, and this is part of it. I just cut 2 pieces out, 6 by 8, and these are going to be my base pages. And this is for my pocket. Now my pocket, what does it say, 5 by 8.5. I use this die here for my pocket. This one here, and I used this one. This very top one right here is what I used for that. And what we're going to do is we're going to put some score tape at the bottom of both of these, take our little pockets and attach them, and then wrap around the extra, and then I'll come back and then we'll put on the pattern paper that goes on the front of this pocket. Okay, so I have the pockets on like that, and they're just wrapped around and glued on the back. So now all we need to do is pick out what pattern paper we want to put on top, if you want to put any on. And this is what I've decided to use for mine. These 2 pieces here that I cut out. And they're out of the one that looks like this on the back. It was a little hard to tell. And this one, yeah, same one. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to glue those down, put score tape on the back of each one, and then I'm going to put them in my book and I'll show you what I have. Okay, 9 and 10 are in. I forgot which number I was on. 9 and 10 are in. And so, yes, and this is what they look like. So now we're going to go to the last part of the album. This is 11 and 12. We're going to do together again, but we're not going to adhere 11 into the book until we do 12. That way we can line them up and make them even. So let me get set up to do that, and we'll get started on page 11 and 12. Okay, 11 and 12. What you're going to need to do is make your base page, and that was with this paper here. Cut 2 of them 6 by 8, one for 11, one for 12. And on your cardstock, you should have a piece that's 6 1/4 by 8 1/2, and you can make a decorative edge here. You can leave it straight. If you use a decorative edge, you might even want to consider a deep edge punch if you have one. But this die that I used here is from the Classic Borders, and I used the little middle one right in here on that one for that. So I cut that out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put score tape on the bottom of each of these base pages. I'm going to put my pocket on, center it on both sides, make sure it's the same, wrap it around, and then, tack it down, and then I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, I have my pockets on, and this is what they look like. I already put my score tape on. Went ahead and did that while I was doing this part. So I was originally, I think, going to have them both like this with this little paper here, but I'm changing my mind. I think I want to put one with the little cocoa cups, but then I think I want to flip this one over and do one with the hearts. So I think I'm going to do them 2 different ways. And for some reason, I didn't cut the length of my paper. I don't know why I did that. It's not like I needed to measure to fit, but now I have to measure to fit. So all I need to do is just see how much off the bottom I want to bring in, make a little mark, and then I'm just going to trim the edge. So that goes up here, off these, and then I'm going to glue them to the pocket, and I'll show you what mine looks like. I think I told you that we were going to do 12 first, then 11. No, I was wrong, sorry. We got to mount this one first because we need to have 12 match up with 11. So let's do that. Okay, 11 and 12 are in. Now I know I originally told you I was going to flip one over and use the other side. It didn't work because of the way I had this cut. When I flipped it over, it was totally off. So I had to do them both the same way anyway. But it looks nice, and I'm happy with it because that was my original plan anyway. So all the pages are in. We've got all our pages in. So we did really good. All our pages are in. So all we need to do now is to decorate. So what I need to do is I need to clean off my table and get all my little embellishments out for decorating, and then we can start doing that.